guys, today we're going to read Diary of a Wimpy Kid by Jeff Kinney. Wednesday. The school paper came out again today. I quit my job as school cartoonist after Creighton the Curious Student came out, and I didn't really care who they picked to replace me. Everyone was laughing at the comics page at lunch, so I picked up a copy to see what was so funny. And when I opened it up, I couldn't believe my eyes. It was Zooey Mama. And of course, Miss Ira didn't change a single word of Raleigh's strip. Zooey Mama. The Raleigh's opposite. Hey, beautiful lady, do you want to go on a date with me? I'm not a lady. I'm just one of those dogs with long hair, so no thanks to that date. Zooey Mama. So now Raleigh's getting all the fame that was supposed to be mine. Will you put us in your comic? Sure. Even the teachers are kissing Raleigh's butt. I almost lost my lunch when Mr. Woods dropped his check in history class. Zooey Mama! Ha ha ha! Monday. This Zooey Mama thing has really got me worked up. Raleigh is getting all the credit for a comic that we came up with together. I figured the least he could do was put my name on the strip as the co-creator. So I went off to Raleigh's after school and told him that's what he was going to have to do. But Raleigh says Zooey Mama was all his idea, and that I didn't have anything to do with it. I guess we must have been talking pretty loud, because the next thing you do, we attract the crowd. Fight, 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 fight. The kids at my school are always itching to see a fight. Me and Raleigh tried to walk away, but those guys weren't going to let us go until they saw us throwing some punches. I've never been in a real fight before, so I didn't know how I was supposed to stand or hold my fists or anything. And you could tell Raleigh didn't know what he was doing either, because he just started prancing around like a leprechaun. I was pretty sure I could take Raleigh in a fight, but the thing that made me nervous was the fact that Raleigh does karate. I don't know what kind of hocus pocus they teach in Raleigh's karate class, but the last thing I needed was for him to lay me out right there on the ground. Before me or Raleigh made a move, there was a screeching sound in the school parking lot. A bunch of teenagers had stopped their pickup truck, and they started piling out. I was just happy that everyone's attention was on the teenagers instead of me and Raleigh. But all the other kids took off when the teenagers started heading our way. And then I realized that these teenagers looked awfully familiar. That's when it hit me. These were the same guys who chased me and Raleigh around on Halloween night, and they had finally caught up with us. But before we could make a run for it, we had our arms pinned behind our backs. Those guys wanted to teach us a lesson for taunting them on a Halloween night, and they started arguing over what they should do with us. But to be honest with you, I was more concerned about something else. The cheese was only a few feet from where we were starting on the basketball court. standing on the basketball court, and it was looking nastier than ever. The big teenager must have caught my eye, because the next thing I knew, he was looking at the cheese too, and I guess that gave him the idea he was looking for. Raleigh got singled out first. The big kid grabbed Raleigh and dragged him over to the cheese. Now, I don't want to say exactly what happened next, because if Raleigh ever tries to run for president and someone finds out what these guys made him do, he wouldn't have a chance. So I'll put it this way. They made Raleigh ate the cheese. Sputter. Guess. Gag. I know they were gonna make it me do it too. I started to panic because I knew I wasn't going to be able to fight my way out of this situation. So I did some fast talking instead. I would, but I'm allergic to dairy. And believe it or not, it actually worked. You're lucky, punk. I know. I guess the teenagers were satisfied they had made their point, because after they made Raleigh finish up the rest of the cheese, they let us go. They got back in their truck and took off down the road. Me and Raleigh walked home together, but neither one of us really said anything on the way back. I thought about mentioning to Raleigh that maybe he could have pulled out a couple of his karate moves back there, but something told me to hold off on that thought for right now. Tuesday. At school today, the teachers let us out after lunch. It took about 5 seconds for someone to realize the cheese was missing from its spot on the basketball court. Hey! Everybody crowded around to look at where the cheese used to be. Nobody could believe it was actually gone. People started coming up with these crazy theories about what happened to it. Somebody said that maybe the cheese grew legs and walked away. It took all my self-control to keep my mouth shut. And if Raleigh wasn't standing right there, I honestly don't know if I could have kept quiet. I called a couple of the guys who were arguing over what happened to the cheese were the same ones who were egging me and Raleigh on yesterday afternoon. So I know it wasn't going to be long before someone put two and two together and figured out that we must have something to do with it. Raleigh was starting to panic, and I don't blame him either. If the truth ever came out about how the cheese disappeared, Raleigh would be finished. He had to move out of the state, and maybe even the country. That's when I decided to speak up. I told everybody that I knew that happened. I knew what happened to the cheese. I said I was sick of being on this court, and I just decided to get rid of it once and for all. For a second there, everyone just froze. I thought people were going to start thanking me for what I did, but boy, was I wrong. I really wish I had worded my story a little differently, because if I threw away the cheese, guess what that meant? If it meant that I have the cheese touch. Scream. June. Friday. Well, if Raleigh appreciated what I did for him last week, he hasn't said it. But we've started hanging out after school again. So I guess that means me and him are back to normal. Diaper rash, a hat. Wow! I can honestly say that's so far. Having the cheese touch hasn't been all that bad. It got me out of doing the square dance unit in phys ed because no one would partner up with me, and I have the whole lunch table to be myself every day. So was the last day of school. Today was the last day of school, and they handed out yearbooks after a parade. I flipped to the class favorite page, and here's a picture that was waiting for me. Class clown, Raleigh Jefferson. All I can say is, if anyone wants a free yearbook, they can dig one out of the trash can in the back of the cafeteria. You know, Raleigh can have a class clown for all I can. But if he ever gets too big for his britches, I'll just remind him that he was the guy who ate the cheese. Okay, guys, today was the Diary of a Wimpy Kid by Jeff Kitty, and please like and subscribe, and see you next time. Bye bye.